Next, Mr. Bender's been waiting patiently. The item is approval of 2012-2013 breakfast and lunch price changes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Does everybody have it in front of them already?
Yeah, we have it on our...
Okay, all right, good to go. The sheet that you're looking at, some of you may be familiar with it. It's the same sheet that we used last year. There's a slight difference though. USDA did change the formula, and the previous formula had us doing a 10-cent increase for the next, I think, 3 years, and the change in the formula actually is we only have to increase our lunch ticket prices by 10 cents for the 2012 and 13 school year, or 5 cents, excuse me, and then 5 cents for the previous or the following 3 school years, and by 2016 and 17 we shouldn't have to raise lunch ticket prices that school year. Now, it's subject to change, as they've changed it already now twice in the last 2 years, so it may change again. We're going to look at changing for 5 cents for next school year breakfast. Regulations were fine there. We don't need to change there. I did have a recommendation in a few years to increase another 5 cents with food cost increase. The second sheet, to go down, it just shows the MVC conference and all the school districts in the area and their current prices. There are a couple schools that have next year's prices down. All of them have to go to the board, so they weren't able to give me their exact price increase for next year, but they all have to raise their prices as well. It shows that we're actually the lowest, or one of the lowest schools in the area. And Greg and I decided not to show you the new formula that they had. The previous formula was only a page. This one is actually 6 pages, so we just took out 2 pages that were probably the most important. And if you look at the very top part there where it says $2.25, this comes from the previous school year's weighted average multiplied by 4.8%, which is cost of living and some other things they throw into the formula. And then this year's formula was taking last year's formula and adding it to this year and looking at weighted prices, but I'm not going to go into all that detail. Anyhow, so the way we get this is they take a weighted price of participation for paid students at each grade level or each pay scale, where we have elementary, middle school, and high school. And they come to, if you scroll down right above where it says weighted price averages, where it's total price increase, they're telling us that we should increase our prices, or we have to increase our prices by 6 cents. And you can round down to the nearest cents, so 5 cents would be our price increase, which would get us to their weighted average of $2.25. So if we want to go back to that first page, just to give you an idea, we would now charge $2.40 for high school students, $2.30 for middle school, and $2.10 for elementary school students. And the very last page is the same information as the first page, except there's one column down there. It's 2013 annual non-federal source contribution. So they're saying there's $11,000 there. If we can come up with $11,000 from a non-food service fund, so non-fund 50, we could cover that cost, and we would not have to increase our lunch ticket prices. And that would come from, I'm assuming, Fund 10, Greg?
Yeah, we'd have to make a transfer from Fund 10 to Fund 50 to cover those additional costs. If you remember last year at this time, we were kind of talking about that this was on the horizon, that we would be indirectly kind of forced to raise our lunch prices and breakfast prices, and I think you're seeing the outcome of that, and we'll continue until we get to where the feds want us. Not only Toma's problem, obviously, this is all districts.
Yep. So again, this is driven by federal guidelines. If we want federal assistance with
Correct.
with food, we have to follow their meal calculations or come up with the money ourselves.
Correct. Any questions at all?
tell me again about the transfer from Fund 10? That's something that we could do, Greg, and not increase the cost of the...
Well, obviously you can hold the prices down, and I think, Jesse, what number did you, that $11,100 there that we're looking at? If you did not want to raise the prices, basically what they're saying is they're not going to fund us for $11,100. So we would have to make that funding up. So that funding would come from Fund 10. So if it's coming from Fund 10, again, Fund 10 is typically used to fund the general fund or regular education. Fund 27 is typically special education costs. We're already making a transfer to Fund 27, significant dollars. We'll talk a little bit here. We've never made a fund transfer to Fund 50. In order to, I guess, be square with the feds, we would need to transfer from Fund 10 to Fund 50. So in a sense, what that's going to do is give us $11,100 less to spend on regular education or general fund costs.
And we would still eventually have to raise our prices.
Yes.
Correct, or you just keep paying from Fund 10, which is going to accumulate.
And I think, I don't know, obviously with the increase cost of the lunch prices, we're generating more revenues. Our goal is not to, our goal has never been to make money. It's just been to sustain the food service program as it is, or to improve it. And whether that's through equipment, which we've done in the last couple of years, but also on the quality of the food. And I don't know, Jesse, if you've spoke to that yet or not.
No, and that was the main purpose of the USDA deciding that school districts need to stop subsidizing their free and reduced program. They need to increase their paid prices, because the more money that we get, the more money we can put back into the food, so the better quality of food that we're going to get. So yes, we may have to increase the prices, but yet we're going to turn around and provide a better product to our students.
Hopefully. I just remind folks that at the cost of the current cost for a breakfast and a lunch program, obviously we're not going to be serving lobster or shrimp or food like that. And even just the increase to, let's just say I don't know, a ground round or a ground chuck would be a significant cost to the program. So, hopefully we'll be able to increase the quality, but I don't know how much that's going to increase, or if the average person would notice that. So I want to be careful when we use the words we're going to increase it. It might be a lot more subtle than that.
Yeah. It may take years to actually see a notice.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve?
I just, before you make that, ask for that motion, we will be coming back. Jesse will be presenting either in July or August some additional equipments I think he would like to purchase again to start looking at helping to increase that quality. And one of the first steps to do that is getting the right equipment in the buildings to be able to do that. Our food service program has really been set up at one time was probably much the way Jesse would like to have seen it, and that's correct. Individual school buildings actually cooking their own lunches, and they had the recipe cards and they would make their main dishes. Well, over the years that has changed to a central location. So basically what you're doing is moving the food back, creating the food at the high school, and then bringing it back as a heat and serve product to the elementaries. And of course, a lot of the purchases are like that. So we're going to have to make some fundamental changes to start dealing with some of these quality issues also.
Correct.
I think over the years we've had a good product come out of that for breakfast, any kind of meal for the student. So again, with this one, I would make a motion to approve it.
Okay.
They're getting a lot for minimal costs.
I'll second that.
Then we have a motion and a second for approval of the 2012-2013 breakfast and lunch price changes as reflected in the document on the screen and as just explained by Mr. Bender. Any further questions or discussion?
And we have a darn good chef.
We do.
Thanks.
Mr. Bender, though, I would just ask, on the chart that you have for the MVC schools, West Salem and Black River, do they not supply an adult lunch or offer that?
They may not have supplied the actual price for that.
Okay, they probably offer it.
I'm sure they
Yeah,
will.
yeah, they do.
Anything else? All those in favor of the changes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries for approval of the changes in the breakfast and lunch prices for 2012, 2013.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.